I missed you guys. How's everybody doing? Thanks for coming. So what's up, everybody? What's been going on in the true crime world?
Anything juicy? Any gossip?
Oh my god. Hi, Crime Doll. Hey, Payday Dad.
Hi everyone. If you're listening to this, then you likely know about the last few days. I want to apologize to everyone I've hurt.
The true crime world the last few weeks.
Anything juicy? Any gossip?
Hey everybody, so it's unfortunate. I feel I have to do this, but I feel like I have to do it. When I clicked into Zav Girls yesterday, I wished I had it. I don't even know why, because every other time I saw a response in all of this, it was like worse than the time before. So I don't know why I was surprised, but every time I am somehow. And I've been at home all day. I did my makeup a little bit, but I know I still look a mess. Not that any of that matters. I'm gonna make commentary of the parts of her live of yesterday, the day before yesterday, that I think are worth noting or responding to, because they seem confused about a few things. They also seemed distorted about other things. At one point they state it started off about one thing and then turned into another. I have no clue what they mean by that. And it was always the autopsy photo, so I don't really know. They also imply that other channels, I believe that there was a direct implication that Ikemel had the... Let's just get started. I'm going to play the first clip that I noticed.
Yeah, you both. I don't know. I almost feel like maybe I shouldn't, huh?
I totally agreed with that. You shouldn't have. Should have just let it lie. You're already coming on super soon. I don't think she even knows the magnitude of how far this thing reached. I mean, if you Google Zap Girl, every major news outlet came up. Penguin reacted to it, who usually does like random video reactions, Russian slapping competitions, and gaming reacted to it. And he was visibly upset. So, yeah, it probably would have been best, unless having spoken to a professional PR person. But starting off with laughing and acting like it's been a year since you've been on and you don't know how to do this anymore is cringe, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, you could think about it.
So, I know
I'm definitely going to address things. I'll say on my channel, I'm going to address some stuff just because it's interesting. And
okay, square one, it's not a good look. I know I laugh when I'm nervous, but anything juicy, distasteful. One, has it been weeks? It's been, well, I mean, technically, I guess it has been a plural weeks. It's been 2 weeks exactly that Zavro did her apology video. 2 weeks, it says. So it's not like they've not been on for weeks and we've not been graced with their brilliance in weeks of months. It's been 2 weeks, 14 days. So yeah, awkward and just distasteful, I'm going to say. We'll move forward.
some people seem to think that you did something you didn't do because there's so many lies going around.
Yeah, you're talking about the whole thing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
We're talking about the whole thing with the Gannon autopsy photos. I do want to address some things, and like, I wanted to do.
I'm fairly positive everybody knows that you're addressing Gannon's autopsy photos and what they say next.
I would have filled the panel, but I'm a little afraid just because I'm afraid of like just nervous. But I do want to answer and clear up some of the misinformation going around about it, because I'm hearing so much stuff and I just want the whole truth to be out, exactly what happened and what it is. And so this misinformation going around about it, and I'll take accountability for what I did, but I want it to be what I did and not like lies. You know what I'm saying? And I want the truth to be out there, and people are twisting things and they're twisting things and they're twisting things and they're twisting things and they're just not telling it accurately. So to be for what is the truth of what I did and not all this other stuff. This got blown way out of proportion. And read them. But I feel like it might be better. People can't ask me any other questions they have. Ever. I have nothing to hide. But I don't know how to go about doing that where we don't get like a bunch of crazy people. Does anybody have any like recommendations? Because I want everybody's voice. Like, anybody has a problem with me, if you want to yell.
It's very easy to believe that you feel you have nothing to hide, considering you're live 2 weeks later about another case. You didn't start off with addressing this. You just did the normal hellos and stuff. So I believe you when you say you don't feel like you have anything to hide. And there really isn't anything to hide in the situation, because we all watched it unfold live, and the parts that a lot of people would have hidden or not done at all, you did right in front of us, and it's clear you're still not cognizant of why it was so bothersome for people, you and Juliet. I'm gonna remain as respectful because I like them both. I liked them. I'm gonna try not to be sarcastic or disrespectful. They don't clarify what misinformation at all. This would be the time to do that, in my opinion. If not now, when? And I'm not sure what information they go on to imply, and you'll hear it, that I assume they mean Marina. And I went through the transcript. I didn't see a name said. All these innuendos. Like, normally people would provide receipts for the things that you're claiming. You're saying somebody put out a video and then took it down with 2 people, and that there's a bunch of misinformation. The only thing in the apology video was that you didn't say the PEDO stuff. I don't know what other information you're implying. There was enough to be sickened by it without it being distorted or twisted. I mean, we only had what you presented us with. So, I mean, onward.
I'm going to talk about the Brian Ensign thing also, because I have some, I was going to say insider information about it, which sounds way more exciting than it actually is, but, because I have way more exciting than it actually is, but, yeah, not a good person, apparently.
I know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I definitely.
You know, some big fans prior to that, I always heard other people talk about how great he is, so I was blown away. But there's some information that you guys might not know. I was blown away. But there's some information that you guys might not know. Him. Just give people a heads up, not to people have to like drag him or whatever, because I'm going to just be open and honest about it. I'm not trying to be dramatic about anything.
Brian was somebody that I trusted for my information, my true crime information. I thought he was credible. I thought for sure he fact checked on his cases. But how he handled that tells me he doesn't fact check. He didn't fact check with me. So the fact that he just ran with all that without fact checking is going to make me doubt his stories. When he comes out with a story on the cases, I'm going to doubt it because I know he doesn't fact check. So that he disappointed me so freaking much.
I don't like that with an email. So yeah, I don't know.
You're just that part, but you're going to
get that on my channel. Yeah.
Yeah, Julia, you mean like you brought it like when you like brought that in that way last week. I'm like, oh my god, I didn't even think about it like that. Wow, that's just messed up. Okay, but I heard after he caused the damage, after it was done, after everybody's having to go rewatch his edited version, after he put out misinformation. Probably to cover his butts, somebody told me he edited out some of the misinformation, but the damage is already done. You think people are going to rewatch your edited version? Everybody already saw the original version. That's very freaking irresponsible. So the fact is like, you know what I'm saying? That just shows you he did have misinformation, so you could believe him or believe me, but he edited it out because he was wrong. You know what I'm saying? But the fact is he should have fact checked before he freaking broadcast to thousands of people. You know, just it's messed up. I don't even know if he edited out. I was just told he edited out some of the misinformation, but that was after the fact. Like I said, you watch like a video. Who's going to rewatch?
Rewatch it later. Yeah.
Rewatch it later. So it's like, and even I'm not even going to say anything else.
We saw enough of what she did that is unequivocally, unambiguous, indisputably what happened and what upset people. So this implication that everyone's misinformed and that's where the outrage is coming from, and because people are putting dark and twisty narrations out about it is insulting. I can only speak for myself, and confusing and mind-effing, because we watched it and don't think everybody turned to everywhere else. You can see the views on your videos that people, if they didn't originally watch you as from the origin of this, saw Brain and then went to your videos and then made their own judgments. I don't know what this misinformation is at all. And if you specified, I think that'd be very helpful, and provided receipts for that, because right now it just sounds like, as an outsider, that you're just making excuses and deflecting. Just like in your apology video, when you focused on the fact that other people had the pictures up, and then she goes on to do it in this too, that there was no outrage to these people. I don't know if I said this in another clip, that there was implication that it was Icked Mel and that he hurried and privated it. Again, no receipts shown for that. And if that were the case, despite them making it seem like everybody, 1 minute it's everybody moved on so quickly, which gleans that nobody was really upset, or B, they are still misinformed or having this distorted version of what happened and they need to clarify it. But we're going to move on to, I wouldn't even address or discuss Brian, and especially in a negative light. If you saw his response, it snowballed. I can't believe you're provoking it at all, and then suggesting that you got inside information about him that proves he's not a good guy.
He had no backlash, and they were trying to destroy me. Like everybody, I have the worst reputation. Like, and nobody's saying a word about him. Yeah. I try to make it a little bit more private because it's a little bit more sensitive information, right? Something that is not okay for YouTube because there are kids on there. So I thought, you know what? I don't think this is YouTube content, so I'm going to be a little bit Patreon. That's all there is to it. Not that, you're trying to make $3. It was on my Patreon, which costs $3 to be a member, and then you get all the videos on it. It wasn't anything specific. You get all the videos on my Patreon, and that was one of the videos that was on my Patreon. I just tried to, number one, I didn't think it was appropriate for YouTube. I didn't even think it would be allowed appropriate for YouTube. I didn't even think it would be allowed on YouTube. Isn't that what Patreon is for? Isn't that what Patreon is for? It's for material that isn't appropriate for YouTube. You're supposed to be able to do people like a lot of true crime and stuff that YouTube won't let. They put it on Patreon. Wiley is actually a little bit more responsible with influence.
If you're the kind of person that looks at photos of a dead child and goes over the details on how they were brutally tortured and murdered to yourself, this is good content. This content's a banger. This is going on Patreon right now. I'm going to get paid for this shit. Let's go. then you're a bad person. That's the kind of person you are. You are an evil piece of shit person is what you are. This isn't like some kind of debatable position. This isn't a hot take for me. I don't know how she even thinks that there is a large number of people that think like her where, oh, we actually just look at photos of dead murdered children in a scientific, analytical way, as we could learn from this. Like, oh, look at that. Stabbed 1,000 times. This is very interesting. I'm giving that an updoot. And here's $5. Thanks for showing me this. That's not common. She literally dropped the, I'm sorry you feel that way, over this whole situation in her community tab, I guess. That blows my mind. That blows my mind. And this is something I've always wondered about from the true crimes community, if there's ever any actual empathy for victims from channels like hers. I know that there are some true crime productions that actually aim to do good by trying to solve cold cases, and I think there is like a legitimate effort to do something there that's more than just exploitative, whereas what Zap Girl does here is legitimately just exploitative. She is trying to capitalize off the trauma of this family and make money from it for her true crime channel. I actually don't know how she sleeps at night. According to the article, the community post continued, and it went into her denying that the autopsy footage that she distributed showed genitalia. She said, I understand some of you have issues with me charging money on my Patreon for the video. If I was charging money for the autopsy files alone or something like that, I think I'd see your point. But in this case, I spent a lot of time and worked hard putting together a video, lining up the coroner's audio and descriptions along with the appropriate part of the photos she is describing and editing it together to try and make it as informative as possible for the viewer. That's what I'm charging for, which I would hope you can agree is understandable. Zap Girl, I don't agree. It's not understandable. I completely disagree. Basically, what you're describing here is you made an autopsy photo montage where you synced up the photos of a child's body with the coroner's explanation on how they were died. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I don't know why you think that that's effort worthy of compensation, or why you think that what you did is a good thing. This isn't informative by any means. You're not like a documentary filmmaker that's paying respect to the victims' families or anything like that. This is the most disrespectful shit ever. Like this is beyond reprehensible. If you were aiming to create an informative video about the situation, why do you need the photos to accompany it? You could just have the coroner's explanation of it. You don't need the photos there. Clearly the reason you had them there is because you knew people would maybe pay for morbid curiosity to see a child, because there are some sick in the world. That was clearly the intention behind having the photos there. Like, there's no other argument you can make for it, because again, if you wanted to just make a piece of content that was supposed to outline the horrors of this case, you could do that without showcasing the child's body. Like, that's basic common sense. But I want to make it clear, even if you never published the autopsy photos, I still think what you did was exploitative and disrespectful to the victim and the victim's family. What you did here is not just provide details to a case to try and educate people on something horrible that happened or anything. You turned this case into a spectacle for your community to, like, give you impressions and engagement on. The goal of what you did here does not seem to be information or anything like that. The goal from you seems to have tried to be like a piece of entertainment about it, which is so fucked up.
I didn't think any of the images were new. These photos were already public, although the video I put together with the coroner's voice was my own creation. I chose to put the video on Patreon because of the sensitive nature of the evidence. Putting the evidence behind a paywall meant added security, and I naively thought they wouldn't be made public.
Well, that was certainly a dumb thing to listen to. Putting it on Patreon is still making the information public. You took private information and you published it on Patreon. A paywall does not mean that it's still private. It is easily accessible to anyone that wants to fork over a few doubloons to access it. Thus, the information is no longer private.
The video I created with a voice from the coroner wasn't meant to be shared outside of Patreon, and I chose not to put the photos on YouTube, a public
legislation into Congress. I'm with you on the board.
actually a little bit more responsible with it.
Yeah, Steel Ribbon said sorry. Yep, now there's bored housewives trying to influence legislation into Congress.
I'm with you on the bored housewives thing. I have a lot to say about that too.
It had nothing to do with making more money. Oh, I'm gonna make more. Let me put it on you.
What if,
It had to do with it. I didn't think it was appropriate material. It had to do with it. I didn't think it was appropriate material for you. Material that you don't isn't appropriate for YouTube. First of all, I didn't think it would even be acceptable on YouTube. I'm sure. Yeah.
no, it's crazy. People have done the same thing before you, and there was no backlash.
Yeah.
Well, you get other YouTube true crime creators who know that other people have done the same thing. I'm saying, oh, she should have known better. Like, how would you have known better?
True crime creators that saw it, true crime creators that did it. I heard two suggested by other creators that aren't afraid to just outright say it instead of making themselves look like they're excuse making while making implications, which is what this feels like. The only person I actually heard in support of was Bullhorn Betty, who said if you were still selling them and she had $3, she surely would.
How did it? How you'd have to be psychic to know better.
I did it. Like I thought it was a part of the cases.
We all is. Yeah. I still say. Anyway.
But yeah, it definitely it's the people, and all the photos say People's Exhibit, and just like when Michael Allen gets up there and insinuates that I got it. Well, Michael, I got it from Colorado. That's another thing. It came from Colorado. I have the emails to prove it. It wasn't from Florida. It's from the trial records. It was the court trial record.
Yeah, and then also like anyone. The thing is, like it should be a conversation. Be like, oh, maybe we're seeing it wrong. You know what I mean? Like those responses are fine. We're like, oh, 100% legit. Like willing to listen and be like, oh, maybe we're seeing it wrong. You know what I mean? Photos.
I personally wouldn't agree with that, but
like, okay, if enough people are like, yeah, let's have that. We could talk about cases on YouTube, the true crime community, whatever, but let's all stay away from autopsy photos.
I personally wouldn't agree with that,
but I'd be like, okay, if enough people are like, yeah, let's have that be where we draw the line, then 100%, yeah. Where they disagree with it sounds completely different.
I'd be like, it's not about the autopsy photos for those people.
Okay, if enough people are like, yeah, let's have that. We could talk about cases on YouTube, the true crime community, whatever, but let's all stay away from autopsy photos. Like, I personally wouldn't agree with that, but I'd be like, okay, if enough people are like, yeah, let's have that be where we draw the line, then 100%, yeah. Where they disagree with it sounds completely different. Because
It's not about the autopsy photos for those people.
And can I also say
Everybody said, oh, everybody tried to
it's not about the autopsy photos for those people.
It's not about the autopsy photos.
tried to tell you not to do it. That's a lie. It wasn't until after.
We need to be a hell of people in
So wait, you wanted people to tell you ahead of time, or you didn't? Because now you're complaining about people coming over saying you shouldn't do it. Which is it?
Probably at least over a week. Mention it on a few lives, a few videos, feeling you guys out. Would
everyone said,
would
yeah.
anybody be interested in autopsy photos? What do you guys think? I think it's a bad idea. Not one single person said it. Only people said, some people didn't see, like, hey.
I mean, the bored housewife joke that just tasteless, but what's new? Anyways, let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Sounds like they want to open it up for them to be given feedback and to answer questions and to clear up misinformation, apparently. But they clearly haven't actually processed the feedback they've been given or are confused by it. I also don't like the implication that there's some kind of ulterior motive by people calling it out, because that's just relinquishing accountability. That this was just wrong, just wrong. And it set a precedent, and it wasn't weeks ago. Business quarter hasn't passed. It was 2 weeks ago, 14 days or so. And it doesn't sound like anything's changed for them. I mean, they started off laughing. It's not a good look. As somebody who knows them a little bit, they're probably nervous, and I get that. And Zavgirl, Tiffany stopped laughing quicker than Juliet did. But it's clear that, in my opinion, it appears that Zavgirl's definitely a lot more aware of this because of her time in the true crime. I don't think Juliet even followed true crime before finding Zavgirl's channel during Kylie Rodney. So she doesn't know that Zav covered lots of true crime before, and I know I've seen people identify reasons that they were upset with Zavgirl back in Watson stuff, but it wasn't anything to this magnitude. I also don't think that it helped that people were upset by the continuance of covering Kylie Rodney, and they'd just been saying how she was like doing legit true crime, doing well, and then they feel like, oh, then she ended up going and doing this. I also don't like the implication that, one, it seems as though they think everybody's misinformed. Two, that Brian Etten didn't present facts and ultimately isn't a good guy. This is all according to them. These are not my words. And I'm paraphrasing. Don't quote me. And allegedly, in my opinion. And three, that nobody warned her or told her to stop prior. Not that she would have listened. Four, that several other channels have the content up and nobody's mad at them, which is blame shifting. Five, that it started off about one thing and then changed into another. No, it started off as about the autopsy photos and continued to be about that. And I saw people defending the PEDO comments. Nobody thinks that Zavgirl made comments or laughed at them. I think it was speculated that she highlighted one of the comments, which was stupid if that was done. Otherwise, it was just exhibiting what the content incited. And I guess it was worse on Twitter as far as the disgusting comments went. Nobody thinks that she was the main source for that, or laughing at it, or letting her chat. All the things that she said about it, pretty much. The other thing was that Penguin, with 14 million subscribers, he got really upset. And I don't understand how anyone that's been on true crime longer than 2 months could think that anything going on Patreon is going to be private. Because people, like, I'm sure Detective used to do lives on there so that members only got the link. You get the link off Patreon, and then you come back to YouTube, and it kind of just filters out the trolls. It was always a common conception that, not misconception, concept, that trolls were probably still going to get the link. Nobody actually thinks that it's entirely private. Also, nobody focused on the fact that, yes, the $3.99 was distasteful. People were recently comparing Annie Elise doing something on Patreon. She only charged 99 cents. So even if those two scenarios were the same, which I've gotten mixed information as to, I've heard it was very similar to the scenario, and I've heard it wasn't at all. And the content isn't there to discern whether or not, however I feel about it. But she didn't charge $4, she charged $1, which is like the lowest you could. That's significant, in my opinion. The last thing was, and I know my ramblings blogs brought a lot of misinformation in Queen Bee's chat the day all this was taking place, that you had to file 2 FOIA requests, one in Florida, one in Colorado. Nobody thinks that anymore because everybody looked up the statutes. Because of laws changed in Florida, it's what made the photos accessible in Colorado. But everybody knows that Zavgirl got them from only Colorado and that she didn't have to do 2 FOIAs. I don't know where she's getting feedback that anybody still thinks that she had to put 2 FOIAs or got them from Florida. Nobody cares about that. They think it's wrong that Colorado released them by proxy. It was Florida, but that isn't a focal point whatsoever. And Queen Bee definitely didn't want to cancel Zavgirl, in my opinion. The last I heard her address about it is that, well, she didn't have anything bad to say about her going live. Even when people, I even said I regretted clicking in, she just said, well, all she can do is, try to move forward from it and do better. We'll see. Wasn't like, oh, everybody go over there. Nothing like that. And to portray it, anything outside what really happened is just victimizing yourself, in my opinion, by choice. So yes, the FOIA thing, nobody cares about that part whatsoever, nor thinks it anymore. And going back to editing the broadcast to thousands of people, maybe you need to search your own name and look up all the videos. And Penguin is the biggest creator I saw, but Philip DeFranco, Kendall Ray, everybody reviewed the apology video, what was done prior, Brian Ettins. But Brian Ettins only got, like, when I saw it last, it was like 147,000. Penguin's reaction video had over 4 million, if not 3.8 million views. So I guess you can blame it on Brian, but I would try to understand why people are upset and how you can avoid doing so better, or doing so next time, and how you can avoid doing so next time. I also would make a strong effort not to blame shift, not to make excuses, not to try to say, oh, but they did it too, because it's way too soon after what happened, what you did, for that not to look really shitty. Just saying. Let me know what you guys thought in the comment section. I appreciate anybody that watches this. I really cared about Zab Girl. I guess I saw how hurt she was during transitions of her channel, and then she met Juliet. That turned out to be a really happy thing for her. I know long distance relationships suck, and this is Zab Girl's job, and she's got to be on here and make money to support her life. As much as, I don't know what bills and stuff she has, it's nobody's business, but I think it's easy to lose perspective on an art form when you're so monetarily dependent on it. I think that can definitely condition your values, and true crime isn't the place for greed or monetary dependency to gauge that. It's already a very fragile and sensitive topic, typically, with real life people going through horrible scenarios. And I just think if you're covering it because you feel an advocation inside, then you'd want to do that with empathy, reliability, dependability, but ultimately morale. And I think that often is lacking. And just as long as it's speculation, it's okay, even though those speculations can create a lot of damage. And in this case, it was being someone that had watched the trial. I was so glad it was over and it ended in justice. The judge was amazing. So I can only imagine how, when somebody dredged the stuff that they've probably been feeling this hurdle for years, we're beginning to see some whatever respite you can acquire in sight, and then a whole new mountain was built. And Brian Etten was their advocate. He was advocating for them. So I don't hold that against them, or against him. And they tried saying, like, this is how we want to remember him, and being a little bit more meek about responding to hearing that she was getting the autopsy photos or charging for them. But she stayed the course, and Plunder got the photos too. But she said that she was shocked they were in there, but it never even crossed her mind to show them. And I don't believe she ever would. Because I'm going back to the question, just because you can doesn't mean you should. So have a great morning, afternoon, or night, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.
If you want to see this, you need to come and pay me a couple extra bucks, even though you didn't have anything to do with this horrible thing that happened to someone.
Like, maybe if you're gonna have like a Q&A on your thoughts on it, that's one thing, but to put someone's entire story behind a paywall, to me, I feel like is really wrong. But I mean, especially this, to put photos. I mean,
of a child.
How you must have to. I completely agree with his dad. That is evil. This girl is fucking terrible.
And why? Like, the case is closed.
I know, because people are sick and they want to see it.
Why?
And you're feeding into that and profiting off of those people.
Why would you want to see that?
I have no idea.
I can't think of anything more horrific than seeing something like that.
I can't even recall ever looking at autopsy photos. I would never want to see that. It's beyond disturbing. I don't know why, especially of a poor child.
Ugh, it's horrific.
So people have been angry, rightfully so. There have been a lot of responses. So first of all, she started getting heat when she was on News Nation.
Yeah.
She posted a statement to her community tab in response to all of it, and also posted a YouTube video. So her statement is very long. Should I read this whole thing? I don't even want to fucking read all her words. We just watch the video?
Yeah, let's just watch it. She basically,
we'll put it on screen if you want to read her statement. I don't want to waste my time.
She basically is just like,
I mean, at this point, she says she's not even going to take it down. She said, I'm not against removing the video. I care what you think, but it's hard to make sense of it while I'm getting some seriously unhinged threats and being made against myself and my loved ones. Threats are... Don't put yourself in that situation then. Like, you have to take... Oh, my God. Oh, this pisses me off. Sorry. It's unbelievable. Let's watch her apology.
Yeah, just watch her apology. I don't think we need to read this whole thing.
No.
Yeah, I think she posted this before before doing her apology, so it's not even...
So before the apology, this is what people had to say. Zav, when you or anyone else can be emotionally detached from autopsy photos of a naked child who was brutally murdered, it's time to take a break from true crime. In my opinion, it's time to get the fuck off of the internet, period. You're done at that point. We know how Gannon died. No photos needed. Agreed. Absolutely vile. Find me a single comment here supporting your decision to do this. Everyone thinks this is the lowest you could possibly go. You want to be, quote, paid for all the work you did to make a disgusting video of a brutally murdered little boy? Gannon paid the ultimate price. Karma is real and has no expiration. Another says, you've crossed the line that should have never been crossed, defiling the memory of a child whose life was taken in the most vicious way. My thoughts are with this family at this time and the hurt they are probably feeling knowing their precious boy has been used as a commodity in death. Rest in peace, Gannon. Another says, ask yourself how you would feel if this was your child, brother, grandson, nephew. This was a heinous crime done to a poor innocent child. Ask yourself if you would be okay with someone making money off your loved one's death. Imagine if someone showed and made people pay for photos of your loved one. Can you even wrap your mind around that? Think about that.
Oh, no.
If your sibling was killed in such a...
It makes me want to throw up. It makes me so angry, and it's luckily never even happened to me. I can't even fucking imagine what Gannon's poor loved ones, family, and friends are going through. It's disgusting.
Especially because like his dad even said he didn't go to that day of trial because he didn't want to see the pictures.
Right.
So the fact that not even his like his own, like why would you want to see that? His dad doesn't want to see that. No, he doesn't want anybody else to see that. Like that is just the most vile thing anybody can do. And to make money off of it, like that, you are disgusting. Like that is so beyond vile. So her name must be like Tiffany or something, because someone else says, Tiff, what you did showing these autopsy photos behind a paywall was cruel and has victimized this family all over again. Yes. The fact that you did not immediately take accountability, take it down and make a sincere apology to the family is disturbing. Exploiting this poor child is beyond disgusting. The trial was over months ago, and then it goes on.
Her name is Tiffany Zavarelli.
Okay.
Got it.
That is such a good point.
Yeah.
The fact that she didn't immediately, like, something should have gone off in your brain as soon as you got this backlash. Like, I made a huge mistake. Like, I need to completely reevaluate my life. Take that shit down immediately and then make this apology. Make excuses and still be questioning whether or not you should keep it up because you worked hard. Here's the thing. This isn't about what we think. Gannon's family has been through hell that most of us will never comprehend. This case was closed already and his family finally started trying to heal. And all this did was open up wounds for absolutely no reason other than greed. And then defending this. Hope you're proud that you've officially gotten the attention of Gannon's family and managed to reach the family. You successfully re-victimized an already heartbroken family. Your disgusting actions have consequences, and the statement just shows you do not care about the consequences. You do not care about victims' families. Amen. There's a lot more, obviously, but
Like over 3,000 comments.
yeah. Obviously, Patreon was getting reached out to left and right. Like, how can this even be on your platform?
Yeah, that should be against your TOS. What the
You'd
fuck?
think they would run that through, like, have some
Yeah.
type of AI the way YouTube
Like,
does
yes.
that would catch something like that. The fact that this was even up is very concerning on Patreon's part. So Patreon released a statement finally that said, we removed Zav Girl from Patreon, completely took her account down
Oh, so she did violate it.
for violations of our community
Still.
service guidelines for violent and graphic content. But they should have something that
There
catches
should
that
still be
earlier.
something. Yeah.
To create a safe environment for users, Patreon does not allow content glorifying or promoting violence of any kind.
Yeah, but you still left it up there.
So it took all of this for her to then get an apology.
Terrible.
Why wouldn't she take that down immediately?
Well, you read her statement.
Yeah.
She's like defensive.
After being on News Nation,
I know.
bro? The fuck? After being on News Nation,
I know.
bro? The fuck?
Yes, okay, and you know what? And I didn't know that either. Listen to this. This is her. Somebody caught her.
Shit. If Al, Gannon's dad, has retained legal representation. I don't care who has, because I ain't done shit wrong. Nothing like that. There ain't that diddly shit any of them can do.
Albert didn't know how to keep his penis in his pants. To have a woman by his side, every woman that he's ever been with, he has met while he was in a previous relationship. Facts. Those are facts. That's not my opinion. That is a fact. He met Letitia Landon in softball. Landon and Letitia were friends.
What does that have to do with shit?
Exactly. That has nothing to do with nothing, and you're trying to deflect from the bullshit you pulled. That.
Yeah, she's a vile piece of shit. I hope
Hell
only the
yeah,
worst for her.
she's fucking hell yeah, she is.
I mean, I hope only the worst for you, man.
Awful.
Hey guys, and today I'm about to play some Sonic Mania. And yes, shout out from our channels. We're going to be doing a lot of these together. Give a shout out to Owie! Jamie, you can like your own videos. Let's give her some views of him.
Done is spending time with these families. I know the first family I spent time with, well, Sarah Turney, I spent time with her in person, and then being with the Andriacchios in person changed it all for me. Like, being in their home, being with their entire family for days, gave me an understanding of how when the camera stops rolling, podcasts stop recording, these families feel this pain every single day. They carry this trauma every single day of their lives, and it is horrific. It alters their life in a way that you could never imagine unless you have been in their shoes. And I think every single person in true crime should at least try to get the opportunity to converse with someone who is a victim of crime, because it will change your perspective on everything.
Well, I was actually a little bit more responsible with
influence legislation into Congress.